M. White asked me what are the parameters for a good woman and a good man. You chose to try to interject. I didn't have your answer. So technically it was still on me, but thank you though. So again,
this is where I thrive. So I'm telling you, you and whoever else, just to be clear. Like,
okay, so you thrive. We already know you're gonna survive. Let's chill.
If you want me to treat you like a woman, act like one. That's all I'm gonna ask you.
My point was this: if we have varying degrees of different answers, what is that called? What is a sentence? What is a synonym for varying degrees? It's called a spectrum.
Literally, but you're using that spectrum wrong. You're using the spectrum wrong. That's the issue that we having. We got to have a spectrum of what we call in baddie culture. We got to have that situation. Got to have a spectrum from good, bad to worse, right? But the good women, they got to have their own version of a spectrum as well. So we can't have good women a part of if we are trying to separate the two, right? We're saying we have good women and baddie women, right? So it has to have a spectrum of just baddies, and then they got to have a spectrum of just good women. So we can have the actual separation.
Okay, so what are the parameters for each? When do you become a
that was the statement I was trying to make.
When do you break out of good woman? When do you break out of good woman and then you're into baddie?
No,
right. Hoe. So like,
when you bring a good woman into being a hoe, what's this? Because Pearl, this is Pearl's world right now. She said good woman and a hoe. There's no in between. So which one is it? When do you go from good woman to hoe? And
yeah, there's got to be some sort of
threshold,
but
I'm just saying,
right?
hold on. Wait a minute. Because wasn't Ella on here saying that the good women were standing too close to the hoes, and y'all was like, hey, that's my man. Like, he made a point, like slam dunk with that, right? Because they're standing too close, they're doing what? They're blurring the lines. Maybe if it wasn't a spectrum and such a variety and multiplicity, and there was literally specificity and not so much ambiguity, you would be able to understand the difference between a real woman and a whore. Now, again, I know people make their choices, but once again, I stand on what I said. There has to be some differentiation and some separation. I'm a down that hill.
Can you provide the differentiation? Provide the differentiation. That's the thing that I'm asking. The parameters to have this conversation. Can you provide what's the parameters in which once you cross out of this point, you become a whore, and when you stay within these confines, you become a good woman? Can you provide that?
So hold on, my anybody ask you. Do you know what they call it when you ask somebody something for a definition of something that they want to use against you, but then they won't tell you what the definition is?
I don't know. It seems like filibustering.
I'm gonna give you a second. I know you know the word. But just the point. That's why you think about it. That's all you're gonna get.
Disingenuous? Are you saying disingenuous?
No, it's a big word
and that's exactly what it is. Because okay, I'm gonna use a word, but then when you ask me for the definition, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna keep talking as if you should figure it out yourself. You cannot ask women on a panel. For example, I use Jay and Day. They say they have their best friends for 20 years. You ask Day what number makes you a hoe. She gonna have to think about every dick that Jay done told her she done took in a friendship and say a number higher than that. Because if she doesn't, she just said that her friend is a hoe. So you can't ask women publicly these types of questions and expect them to be honest. So
you can excuse me. Don't do that. Don't speak to me. Anything, just like he asked, and I'm gonna answer it. Nah, thank you. The parameters for a good woman and a whore would be a woman who is a good nature,
we can't
would regard herself, and she wouldn't be sexually liberated and just so fascinated.
I think Pearl got a delay. I think Pearl got a delay.
That's not my fault.
Like, don't talk to me.
No.
That's not my
fault. So let Willie finish. Let Willie finish, and then we're gonna let you.
No, he's trying to talk to me. That was an appropriate interjection for a correction. What are we talking about? He's trying to speak for me and say this is why you don't ask women anything on the panel. Willie, come on now, Willie. M. White asked me what are the parameters for a good woman and a good man. You chose to try to interject. I didn't have your answer. So technically it was still on me, but thank you though. So again, like I was saying, the parameters for a good woman and a whore. What do you
Really, I don't know why both of you motherfuckers on this shit. Hey, this is where I thrive. So I'm telling you and whoever else, just to be clear. Like,
okay, so you thrive. We already know you're gonna survive. Let's chill.
If you want me to treat you like a woman, act like one. That's all I'm gonna ask you. That's all I'm asking.
I'm always a woman, Willie. Thank you.
Act like one.
Don't do that. Thank you. So anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted, and he interjected. Anyway, Doesn't even need to be corrected. The parameters to keep us on track, bring us back, right? So the parameters of a good woman and a whore are always what they've been and what they will always will be. A good woman is going to hold herself, her sexuality, her sensuality is going to be reserved. She's not going to be out here willy-nilly in it for any old body. It's not going to be a price. It's not going to be if your car looks nice. It's not going to be all of these materialistic acquisitions. You're actually going to have to be somebody of substance. Whereas we all know a whore, it doesn't matter about any of those things that I just named about a man being of substance. If you look good, you can get it. If you got a car, you can get it. If you're going to give a 4 for 4, you can get it. If you got something, a place for her to sleep, you can get it. It doesn't matter. She doesn't have any discretion for herself, regardless if it's a survival tactic or not. Really basic, one regards herself, the other one does not. Why are we acting brand new?
Yo, let me get the rock.
I rock with you, bro. Let me get the rock parameter. You didn't give me a number. Hold on. I'm trying to see when you cross from one section to the next.
This is why. Hold on. This is why I like after listening to everybody.
I think a woman who regards herself and does not spread herself across many millions, that is not a whore. A woman who does that is, and a woman who adds money into it is a prostitute.
Bro,
hold on.
So after listening to everybody, I think Willie and M. White actually had a point, because if Pearl's position is, all of that ambiguity and subjectivity is done with, that don't make no sense. It's either black or white. I think when they said, because even in the process of you saying that, get rid of ambiguity and subjectivity, you're adding it in by saying okay, a good woman is a woman who she only has sex with her husband. That's a good woman. Right, that's what we can go by. Only have sex with your husband, no kids out of wedlock. That's the man that you want to have sex with. Or outside of that, you're in the bad woman category. That's kind of that makes the most sense based on her perspective that she was given. Now, when you start to talk about, a good woman is just a woman who has values and she just uses discernment and all that. That's extremely subjective to where that's putting us back in that realm.
Hey, can I ask a question?
The issue is you act as if that men can go from being a bad man to a good man, and a woman can't go from being a bad woman to a good woman. So even if something happened and then she changed her ways, that now she could actually go from being the baddie culture to I'm a good wife culture as well. It's the same way how a man can. The same way how we tell men to go ahead and thought it up. And then when you finally get it all out your system, now you could come back and be a so-called good man. You could just forget every goddamn vagina you put your face in all of a sudden. If a man could do that, if a woman's get out of this baddie culture for a long enough time, you're gonna have to now shift her from out of the baddie culture spectrum to now into the good wife spectrum. That's the issue that y'all actually having. We gotta just deal in the truth. But we want to deal in just talking points instead of what's really happening in the real world.
So I would like to ask a clarification question from fellas. And White, at what number do you say a man becomes a whore maker? How many men would he have to have hit before you would call him a whore maker?
Women.
What?
Women.
No man.
Yeah, there you go. Well, my bad. I know.
Yeah, you've been. I know. I got you. I know your question. How many women would a man have to hit before he is out here actively contributing to the population of women that's out here just is women?
No, bro, I just said be a whore maker.
Yeah, whore maker. All
right.
Shit. Probably
the same number, 10. Go with 10.
Do the same. Hold on, Willie. I'm gonna say like this. I'm going one by one. I want to answer the question because I don't want to give a theoretical answer. If you are engaging in one night stands with more than 4 people, then you out here creating hope, like you whore making or whatever.
Fair. True. What's your
not if it's 3?
Jay, this ain't for you right now because y'all didn't want to tell us how many bodies.
I don't think there's I don't think there's a particular number.
So then that's what we should have. We were asking women. True. What's your number?